Salam. In terms of Hajj management, Indonesia has been credited as a very qualified country to manage its Hajj pilgrims in its big number. And it's also well expressed in a high level of satisfaction survey that's been conducted in the last 2019. However, there seems to be one aspect left behind, that is how to cater for disabled pilgrims. This paper talks therefore accuse that, in line with the Sustainable Development Goals, that is a universal call to ensure that every single national in the world, none should be left behind, are granted with prosperity and poverty alleviation by the end of 2030. The issue of disabled, that are those who's got physical, emotional, psychological or social impairment which hinder their equal basis in a interaction in a society, are of a necessity to be thought of. We recommend that the government of Indonesia set up a policy, better access and facilitation for the disabled Hajj pilgrims, to better manage the Hajj management in Indonesia. Enjoy our presentation. This paper talk is entitled Hajj Disability Practice and Unlocking SDGs Target in Indonesia, presented at ISRL Symposium conducted in Bogor under the virtual session of Religion, Development and Public Policy. The authors are three of us. I am Muhammadun from Department of Pengembangan Masyarakat Islam UIN Mataram, representing Sri Hartini Rachmad from BPS Statistik Jakarta, and Lukmanul Hakim Darusman from Universitas Muhammadiyah Jakarta. First of all, we'd like to put in a concept idea on Hajj disability. We've defined the Hajj disability as a group of people who, despite their disability, want to do Hajj in their religious practices as their rights. However, the policy, access and facilities are not yet well facilitated under law and regulation in a state platforms. This is, of course, on the contrary with the attainment of SDGs, that is the Sustainable Development Goals on state's agenda. It is a universal call to action to end up poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people, none is left behind. In our research background, we've got to put these points of discussion that this Hajj disability concept is part of pilgrimage obligation to all Muslims under the requirement of istita'ah. However, disability in Hajj policy hasn't been established in Indonesia. Hence, it is in contrast with SDGs target attainment, that is to eliminate human rights violence and harmful practices. The policy intervention, therefore, should be in evidence-based and needs an accurate crucial research measurements, which doesn't only measure macro but also micro levels. Going further to the literature review, apart from the macro Al-Quran and Hadith guidance, we also have from the Islamic perspective research such as Al-Mawardi in Al-Ahkam Al-Sultaniyah argues that the existence of state is to assure that the citizens can perform both hereafter duties or religious duties and that of worldly one. Doing religious obligation is also the right of every citizen, both normal persons as well as persons with disabilities. However, in reality, the people with disabilities have obstacles to do Hajj compared to the general counterparts. They haven't got yet attention, access and facilities for their rights on doing Hajj. It is therefore the state's responsibility to provide access and facilities for all citizens to perform religious duties. In terms of methodology and data, the type of research that we've done is mixed method to apply both qualitative and quantitative data. The method of study is doing fieldwork by interviewing in-depth interview with the persons with disabilities and other authoritative and as well as completed by library research. The techniques that we applied during the research are using simple descriptive statistic in terms of cross-tabulation analysis and doing triangulation analysis among the quantitative and qualitative data as well as the literature studies, to apply the inference statistical analysis by using the statistics index as well as violent concept of Hajj disability, which covers physical, psychological and economical requirement. The micro data sets that we did is MOH survey data in 2018, Hajj survey report 2018 and the National Social Economic Survey in the last year. Whilst the macro data set that we employ is that the main sources of Islamic law, namely Quran and Hadith, as well as literature studies, including Islamic, cultural, local belief and practices. There are 4 interrelated findings that we would like to put forward. The first one is, as represented in this table, the excellent quality surveys as represented here, which is actually a good start to cater for people with disabilities, as represented in this table, representing the kinds of disabled people where people with motion impairment can be focused, and further to the assistance that apart from the fact that 50% of Hajj pilgrimage are independent people, there are 38% people who need assistance and 12% people who are in a dire need of using devices. This is in line with the proportion of people with disabilities in Indonesia based on the population census in 2010, that there are kinds of disabilities: sight, hearing, walking and step up on stair, concentration and memorize, as well as unable to take care of they themselves, who in a dire need of assistance in terms and in the perspective of Hajj management. Having considered those 4 findings, there are some policy implications. The first one is the absence of counseling services for the implementation of Hajj for people with disabilities in Indonesia, whose number is quite large in terms of percentage and absolute terms, needs to be considered. Therefore, the Ministry of Religious Affairs as the implementing body can do the following steps. First, to implement regulation concerning special services for Hajj pilgrims with disabilities as regulated in Article 6, Letter H of Law Number 8, 2019. Second, to strengthen the coordination among sections to implement the law and regulations. Third, to establish a special Minister of Religion Regulation on special services for people with disabilities. And last but not least, surely to revise regulation of the Ministry of Religious Affairs. The discussion and challenges that we would like to put forward is that the electronic Hajj information should have included systems and SOP to cater for disability need. That the absence of this means the policymakers do not respect the human rights and therefore don't contribute to the attainment of SDGs. There is therefore a challenge of inclusion of disabled Hajj pilgrims to better access and be better facilitated with services, support to make them able to do the Hajj properly. Such policy inclusion, when formulated, will surely contribute to the development of Hajj pilgrimage for all. The conclusion is, the ideal of the above inclusion will lead to state facilitation and protection, transparency in the Hajj standard operational procedure, the disability inclusion in the Hajj development will contribute to the SDGs achievement in Indonesia. It also will provide infrastructure and better infrastructure provisions. And the last but not least, inclusion, an ideal inclusion for all, not to be left behind in the context of Hajj management. Thank you very much.